John. Not at the moment,
Okay,
no.
because every time I apply for grant, I can see these the the space for the council to apply.
Mm.
And
Mm.
Yeah.
well, so I mean that's a way. I mean to help increasing the grant
Yeah.
available.
Yeah.
And my
Mm.
next question is how much money you for the White House Council to provide to all the clubs in the area.
Cool. Well, I'm going to get Erin to write that down and research that and come back to you, if it's possible to get that figure. Thank you, John. Can I
All
can
right.
I hand it over now to Dennis? I'm
All
just
right.
assuming you're Dennis, not Leanne, but
Yes, correct.
okay.
I had the long beard, the COVID beard. That might have made it a bit more obvious last time. Um, we're, I'm representing the Box Hill Community Gardens,
Yes.
and we're just community gardens based at the Box Hill Community Arts Centre. We don't have any income apart from our fees and occasional Bunnings barbecues. So we're looking at doing a update of our watering system. So we're looking for a grant. That we had a grant a number of years ago, which was quite handy to sort of redo our garden beds. But this time we were looking at doing the watering system, which is also good in terms of making sure there's no leakage and no wastage. And we're optimistic for next year on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank
Yeah.
you.
No worries.
Ruby.
Yes, my name is Ruby Zhang. I'm from White House Chinese Senior UE Friendship Association. Our association is a very big association, and we have more than 500 members at 79 Kennington Road, Chinese Senior Club. Have activity there. So we want to apply some grants for our activity for our association, and because our association have many teams, dancing, opera, writing, and also dance and sing group. So we hope have with your support, we want to have more activity to supply to Chinese senior.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank you, Ruby.
Thank you.
Sue.
Me. First of all, I can't speak very freely
That's okay.
because I've had cancer and I've only got part of my tongue. So I'll say that now.
Mm-hmm.
Sue Miller, and I'm from the Victorian Obedience Dog Club in Surrey Drive, and we rent a council facility. The club's been going since the 1930s, I understand. We have over 350 members, and membership is increasing constantly. And we're a volunteer organisation like the rest of you, probably. I have put in for some grants and I've had some success.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm interested again in putting in for. We have a very ugly little building in Surrey Drive with no signage. Nobody knows where we are or who we are unless they see the dogs. The moment they see the dogs, they know that they're in the right place. But that's not really, that's what I'm looking for, some funding this year.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of suggestions for what's been said already. Dennis, why don't you ask Yarra Valley Water?
I might. That's a good thought, actually, too. More the merrier.
No, I was going to say to the gentleman that asked about the extra, because I used to work at the Shire of the Yarra Rangers.
Oh, yeah.
23 years in the same area that Erin's in, and I know from past old experience. When that gentleman asked about other funding, John, most big projects, and you're probably looking for lighting or something like that, they usually go to council, the state government, and maybe the federal government, and get 3 lots to make up the amount you want.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, my question would be, the only difficulty I have, and I have it in the Shire of Yarra Rangers as well, is when we're asked on the application forms to put in how we line up with council's objectives, it's not always clear how to do that lineup, especially with an organisation with dogs. So
Yeah, good point.
that's where I have to do a lot of research to make sure that what I'm asking for lines up with those objectives.
Yeah, true. Well, I've got things to say about that, Sue, when we get to that. So thank you. Sarah?
Hi, I'm Sarah Williams. Next year, my son's going to be in the Eastmont Preschool, so I volunteered to be on their committee, and I've just been elected as the grants OHS officer, and I know nothing about applying for grants, so I saw this was happening, so I've just quickly signed up. So coming from a place of no knowledge, I don't have any specific questions, maybe
Sure.
like, what's the key criteria you look for when you get grants, or how to structure the grants, just the basic information.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, and congratulations on your new role. How exciting.
I guess.
You're in the right room though, so it's all good. You'll learn a lot from this. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
Jeff, are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm here.
So yeah, just Jeff, we're just going around.
I just couldn't open the video.
That's okay.
So my face is not showing.
That's
I'm clicking
fine.
on it. It is not showing anyway. I'm from Melbourne Seniors Activity Centre Incorporation in Nunawading. Our activity center is mostly held in the Nunawading Community Hub on the Springvale Road. And also I'm representing about like the Chinese seniors group. Mainly we are located in Whitehorse suburb or areas. Our organization mainly helping Chinese elderly to get to know the services or information, health or benefits or allowances or health information. We also hold festival gatherings like Chinese New Year, Middle Autumn festivals, and also we have dancings and English teaching classes for elderly. Also, we pass on the government news like health information or Centrelink information or council information such as this allowances. Yeah.
Hey Jeff, thank you for that. But I'm just wondering, do you have a question about grant writing? Because
I have been through to one of the grants, but I'm still confused about what really that we can claim.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I'm here.
Okay. So you mean what you can ask for as a grant?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
we failed sometimes, we succeed sometimes. So I'm quite confused.
Thank you. Fantastic. And Wendy, I know I've got in the chat there that you're the secretary of Jasmine Senior Dance Group Incorporated. Have you got a question about grant writing? It's okay. Wendy's making us all a cup of tea, I reckon. Fabulous. And look, as your questions come, and I feel like everything that you've asked and said and expressed, I will definitely touch on and go through. Erin will jump in and say what she knows. Any of you who has experience around grant writing, etc., please share. Put things in the chat. Let's build a kind of sharing space today. But just quickly, my background is probably in what I would say the community sector or the arts. I started off as a very troubled teenager that was getting into lots of trouble at school, and my parents kind of organised a bit of an intervention, and together with the school they decided that I needed a creative outlet. So basically I went off and joined a circus. So that's the transition. I kind of was getting into trouble, then I found this amazing community organisation, and it really changed. So I just love showing people this. This is the Women's Circus book. Anyone who knows the Women's Circus is based in Footscray. It's a beautiful program. It was started for women who've been sexually abused. It's all about body reclaiming self. It's really not about circus at all. And there's me on the back cover there, standing there, 16. I'm supposed to be in the pyramid, but I'm standing in front of the girl that turned up on time, so I'm just covering her, but I'm supposed to be in the pyramid. But look, I would say everything that I've learned about community, storytelling, fundraising, growing an idea, growing communities, growing membership, all of that I learnt there. And it inspired me so much that I went off as a young youth worker and I got a grant from the Quit campaign, which is an anti-smoking campaign, and I got $5,000 to purchase some equipment and start a program in school. So it really started off as a 10-week program. I'm just listening to all of your organisations and thinking about the genesis of those organisations. They all would have started with one person and a 5-week program, you know what I mean, until they become an ongoing organisation. So things start small, and I grew that organisation with my team for many, many years, and it grew from like a $5,000 grant to a not-for-profit organisation that employed 30 casual staff and, had a turnover of $1 million. We were incredibly good at fundraising and diversifying our income, so we weren't relying on just grants or just membership or just whatever. But I guess what I got good at, I used to say that I got good at grant writing, but I think what I got good at in the end, if I could be really honest with you, is I got good at selling the value of what we were creating. So I didn't talk about stuff. I didn't say we need this, we need that. I mean, we did. We needed a new van. We needed a new trapeze. We needed a new fax machine, all of those things. But I never asked for those things. I talked about the value of what we were trying to do. I talked about the program that it would support. And then it just so happens that in the budget, there was the bus. Do you know what I mean? So when I shifted my language around change, the impact we're making, all the work that you're doing and what it's doing to community and helping with social isolation and all the good stuff, all the mission work, that's what the Funding Body wants to hear about. They don't want you to list your shopping list, your wish list to Santa. You know what I mean? So I got good at doing that. And now I work as a consultant and I help people with their fundraising strategies. I help community groups. I help people who just got their job like you, Sarah, going, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I find out everything? And I also sit on panels and I assess grants. So I'm not assessing your grants, so no need to send me chocolate, all the things that are on my Santa list. But I do sit on many applications and I read them. So I kind of, not only do I write grants, but I actually assess them so I know exactly what the funding bodies are looking for. So what I'm going to do today, because I am not from the City of Whitehorse, I'm an independent. So I'm just going to share with you everything I know from both perspectives. And I think your job is to sit back and listen and go, okay, how is that going to help me with what we need? So I'm going to talk about City of Whitehorse, but I'm also going to talk about the world of grants in general, because I'm assuming and encouraging you to go for more than that. Go for the state government grants, go for the federal grants, go for the Business Victoria grants, go for all of them. The City of Whitehorse is just one opportunity. And I really want to encourage you to kind of look outside. So I have a PowerPoint. We have 2 hours. We will have a tiny break. It's quite interactive, so I'll be stopping and asking questions. You'll go into breakout rooms. You'll even write a sentence together. How exciting. You're going to walk away with a sentence. So it's quite practical. There is a PowerPoint and you can have a copy of it. So please feel free to take notes, but you get a copy as well. So that's amazing. All right. Oh, look at that. Can you see that, Erin? I don't know if I can see Erin anymore.
Oh, sorry. I just realised I'm on mute. Yes, Debbie, sorry.
Excellent. All right.
I'm nodding. It's not very helpful.
Effective grant writing. Here we are. Remember, you get a copy of this. This is a really useful tool for you. 3 things we're going to talk about today. First is preparation. all the things that you need to have prepared before you can write a grant. Now, this is the bit where people get a bit impatient because they want to go straight into the application and go, okay, what do I do? How do I answer it? How do I make my, how do I answer that question when I'm working with dogs? How do I do that? So please bear with me because I just want to say with the preparation, and I do this with organisations, I go in there and they always want me to help them write a grant, but we stop and we start here. Because if you're not ready, it will take longer. And one of the questions I get all the time is, how long does it take to write a grant? I'm so busy, I'm a volunteer, I can barely make ends. How long is this going to take? And I always say, it depends how ready you are. So we'll be going through the prep. We'll go through an application, the kinds of questions you're asked and how you might answer them. And we'll spend some time on a budget. Okay, so when we're assessing a grant, the statistic for me is that 9 out of 10 budgets are incorrect. Okay, and that's so interesting because most groups have a treasurer and they know exactly how to budget. So yeah, it's just grant budgets are very different. And I just want to make sure you understand the difference. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. Preparation. So part 1, are you ready? Of course you're ready. You're all here. You want to get a grant. I get it. But first of all, now just bear with me again. I think before you start fundraising, my question to you is, can you speak clearly about what your organisation does, but also the project you want funding? Now, here is the thing. Most people ask for money for their organisation, okay? And unless it's an organisation grant or a grant like the Seniors Grant, most funding bodies don't want to fund your organisation to run unless it's a particular grant for that. What do they want to fund? They want to fund projects, okay? So they don't want you to just say, oh, we want you to fund our ordinary ongoing program, which is such a shame because funding bodies should fund us to just run and do the beautiful work, but they won't. They want to fund a project. Do you have an idea of why they want to fund projects mainly? Any thoughts? Someone why do you think they want to fund projects and not general organisation costs?
Because they want to have a benefit as well.
Yeah, and they want an out. They want it to have a start, a middle, and an end. Because if you don't have an end, they're kind of locked into you, into a marriage of funding, and they can't get out. So that's why they say, okay, what do you want to do over a 10-week period or a 6-month period? And yes, it can't just be benefiting your organisation and the internal membership. Your project has to be outward facing and benefiting the community in general. So yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? So that's just the first thing. Do you know how to speak clearly about what you do? And have you got a project? Now again, depending on the grant you're going for, you may not need a project, but 9 out of 10 grant programs will only fund a project. Okay, so that's an interesting thing for me. That's a very first thing. And also, is this the right opportunity for your project? And the reason I ask this is because grant writing takes a bit of time. It doesn't take 3 minutes. It probably doesn't even take 30 minutes. It might take a few hours if you're ready, if you've lined up all your ducks, so to speak. So you want to make sure it's the right one. You want to make sure the timing is right. I mean, if you apply for a grant with the City of Whitehorse in February, you find out in August and your project can start in September. So, is this right for you? I mean, is this the right timing? And also checking you're eligible. This is a big one because just because there's a grant, it doesn't mean you can have it. So eligibility is really important. And guess whose job it is to check eligibility? Your job. Because you can write a whole grant and submit it, and guess what? It doesn't go past eligibility because you're ineligible and no one even reads it. And that's where people's fatigue and anguish comes with grant writing. They're like, oh, I did all that work and they didn't even read it. It's because you're not eligible for it. So let's just look quickly at eligibility and the different types of eligibility. So there are grants for individuals. Is anyone here applying as an individual or more as a not-for-profit? Anyone individual? Yeah, okay, great. There are grants for individuals though, okay? They're very rare and mainly they are in the kind of arts and also sports. Sometimes you can get a grant for an individual scholarship for something or an individual artist who wants to work on a community garden project, for example. There are grants available And if you are an individual, you're applying as your own entity with your own ABN. So you may not want to ever apply for that, but I just want you to know there are grants available to individuals, but there aren't many, okay? There are more grants available to not-for-profits. Are you all a not-for-profit organisation of some kind?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are more grants available to not-for-profits. Why do you think there are more opportunities for not-for-profits and less for individuals? What do you reckon's going on there? Because they both deserve it. Like, why do you think funding bodies prefer not-for-profits? Any ideas?
Basically, all the money is actually going to the project rather than to the company itself and the people organising it.
Yeah, and also not-for-profits, if you think about it, they're less risky. Okay, an individual's risky. The individual has to find their own insurance. Maybe they don't have the backup. They don't have the systems and processes. They haven't got the capacity to deliver. It's all on them, yeah? Whereas a not-for-profit usually has volunteers. It usually has a team. It usually has membership. It usually has an incorporation status. It's all of those things. So if you think about it from a funding body's perspective, they want you to succeed and they want it to be right, so they less risk. So in not-for-profits, there are more opportunities. The next level is a charity. Anyone here a charity? You would know it if you are. Anyone here a charity? No? Okay.
Yes, we are a
Yeah,
charity.
who's that? Is that you, Jeff? Are you? So
Yeah.
you've got DGR status, yeah?
We do.
Okay, so if you are a not-for-profit, you can, if you like, take a step further and become a charity. You don't need to, but a lot of people do become charities because, well, firstly, they have a charitable purpose, but also because the funding world opens up. Once you have a charity, you can apply for local government, state government, federal government, plus philanthropy. There is so many grants in philanthropy that you're not eligible for unless you have a charitable status. So yeah, it's just interesting to know which one you are and why, and how do you find out which grant? Like I'm looking at the old guidelines of the City of Whitehorse, and it tells you on a certain page who is eligible for our grants. Please look at that. Please look at who is eligible for which category before you apply. And if it's not clear, guess what? Ring Erin and ask, can we apply? This is our status. And of course, sometimes people are not quite ready to apply as a not-for-profit because maybe they haven't got their not-for-profit status or they're not ready or they're not confident enough. You can use an auspice instead. Has anyone here ever used an auspice before? Okay, an auspice is another organisation that applies on your behalf. So whenever I apply for a grant, I apply as an individual artist. I'm actually eligible to apply directly, but I use an auspice because I want to use their insurance and I want to be under their work cover and I want their support. So you can use an auspice, and all it is when you're filling in the form, you put their ABN number on it. It's still your project, it's still your idea. You have to work with that auspice body to make sure it's legal and it's good, but they carry the risk, so to speak. They get the money. Say you apply for $3,000 through an auspice, the auspice body gets the money and then you invoice them as you need. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, just that eligibility thing is a really important thing to think about because most people just start the application and haven't even considered if they're eligible. So are there any questions about anything that I've said so far? No? You're all good? Smile? Everyone smiling? Yeah, fantastic. All right, so as Erin said, guidelines are really important. Okay, I'm going to show you what they look like. Okay, they will be available in early Jan. You need to look out for them and read them. Here they are, okay? So, here I am holding them up. I go through them. This is like the Bible for me in terms of my grant writing because it's got all the answers and I even make little notes. See? So in terms of how much money can I ask for? John, the answer's in here. What will they fund? What will they not fund? Someone else asked the question, Jeff, what can I claim? It's in here, the answers. It tells you what they will fund and what they will not fund. Some funding bodies will fund people's time, some won't. Some funding bodies will fund catering, some won't. They're all really weird and they all have their own little thing. So your job is to find out which one. It's in here. And someone works tirelessly all year to make sure that all the answers are in here to make it easier for you. And guess who that person is? She's sitting in the room today. Her name is Erin. Erin Legend. She works on this to make it easier for us. So there are things in there like frequently asked questions, tips sheets, how to do a budget, what the assessment criteria is. So, you know, if you think about what happens to your application, it's not a bunch of friends sitting around going, oh, I like this one, I love this one, I hate this one. They don't do it like that. They assess it like they would an essay. They mark it out of 100. So you need to know what you're getting marked against, and it's all in here. Okay? It's upfront, it's transparent from the beginning what you're marked against, because guess what? It's competitive. There's only $150,000 to give out, and there's probably about $300,000 of requests. So you are marked against the next person. So, you know, the interesting thing is, and I just want to say it up front now, all your work and all your organisations are valid and important. And just because you don't get a grant, it doesn't mean you're not valid and important. It just means you haven't scored high enough in this. That's all it means. So your job is to get how much out of 100? Anyone got an idea? Dennis, I know you know the answer. How much should you get out of 100?
Presumably 100, otherwise you haven't met the criteria.
100, yes. That's what we want. Of course, it's not always easy to get, but I'm just saying, do you know what I mean? That's what you're thinking. You're going, I want to get the highest score because I already know what we do is amazing. How do I get that grant? So use the tips and tools, read the guidelines, attend the session. You've come today. Go to the grant writing session. There are information sessions that you can go to one-on-one where you bring your project. There's help with how to set up a Smarty Grants. There's so much help. And all I want to say is use it. Okay, use that help.
If I can jump in as well, Deb, and just really reiterate that exactly what Deb said, like we know everyone is doing just such fabulous work. We know you are the best person to know what the community needs. However, we can only go off what's in the application. So that's why sessions like this is so important to really help you articulate what it is you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Back over to you.
Thanks. And I always, when I press submit, I always think I've got no assumption. I've tested all my assumptions. I press submit going, I've run them, I've checked, I know I'm eligible, and I have written a grant that's 100 out of 100. Now it's their problem. Okay. I don't sit there and go, oh God, I have no idea if this is right. Oh, this is terrible. I hope they don't even read it. Oh, I'm so ashamed I ran out of time. I don't submit on those conditions. I try and submit feeling really like I've done the job. Yeah. And I just want to say that the guidelines are there to help, and they're amazing. They're like, 27 pages long. So you need to kind of sit down with a cup of tea and a bicky, but it's worth it. Everything in there that you need. Remember I said that your grant's worth out of 100? Here is an example of the assessment criteria. So there's two sets of criteria. The first is essential criteria. So it could be, you know, you have to be in the city of Whitehorse, tick. You have to have no other grants that you haven't acquitted for, tick. So there'll be that kind of assessment. So that's all in here, the list. Then once you're past that test and they're actually reading your application is worth 100 points. And here, I've got an example here for the major and minor grants program. So the 3,000 and up to 10,000. This is the criteria out of 100. Interesting. Alignment to health and wellbeing objectives, 30%. That's high, isn't it? Clear project plan and budget, 25%. Experience and capacity to deliver, 20%. Project sustainability, 15%. And evidence of need, 10%. So sometimes people try and seduce me with their great idea and go, oh, we need a grant for this. It's so good. And I'm like, yeah, great. That's fantastic. If you look at the criteria right now, you will get 10 out of 10 because you will go well with the idea, but you still need to get the other 90%. So see what I mean? They're looking for particular things, and in the guidelines it breaks down what these mean, and there are dot points under each, but you want to go well across the board. And each of the categories, whether you're going for a seniors participation grant or an equipment grant or a minor or a major or whatever grant you're going for, they all have different assessment criteria. So your job is to try and hit the highest on each of these. Okay, so from looking at these criteria, what's important? What's the most important thing to council?
It lines up with their objectives.
Yeah. But still, just say you did, Sue, just say you got 30 out of 30, you still failed. Yeah, because you need to get 100. So I kind of go, yes, it is important because the weighting is the highest, but it is a balance of many things, isn't it? Any other observations from this? Any of these you don't understand?
Well, obviously, council's trying to give their community things that we're all doing.
Yeah.
That's what they actually wish to do. That's what they're in the business of doing. So they want us collectively to produce good projects that will line up with what they want.
Yeah. Because guess where the money comes from?
Us.
It's like this, I mean, some people call it embezzlement, some people call it a circular economy, whatever. It's ratepayers' money. So it's coming from you back out. So they've kind of got to kind of filter it through this, you know, City of Whitehorse filter. So it's kind of like self-sourcing pudding, really. There are many analogies for this. But I think it's interesting to look at it.
Yeah, and sorry, and just on that as well, these objectives have come to fruition as a result of a big, huge community consultation over the past 12 months as well. So they're kind of, these objectives have been formed because that's what the community has said that they want to achieve. It's all working towards their vision. So just so you can link that all in as well, it's not council making it up. It's us delivering what the community has said that they want, and that's why we want the grants program to also align with that.
Yeah. So all of this is in the guidelines again. Okay, so it's not a little surprise. It's not a, you know, jackpot. Some people say, oh, you know, I put in a grant. I have no idea if I'll get it. It's like Tats Lotto. You either win or lose. And I'm like, well, actually, it's not like that at all. They're assessing you against criteria. Do you know what criteria it is? And I said, no. So, yeah, just make sure you check and you understand. If you don't understand, ask questions. So where are the grants? Like, how did you find out about the City of Whitehorse grant? Did Erin come and knock on your door and tell you about it? Like, how did you find out?
Go to the hub, the website of the Whitehorse.
You found it from the website. How else did you find it?
From the grant master list.
Master list, yeah. Look, I think the thing to say is that there are many grants, and look, even though the sector struggles to access them, there are many grants. Like people get alarmed when I tell them there is so much money out there. Doesn't mean you can have it all, but there's a lot of opportunity. So your local government is only one. Yeah, your local government, the grant program in your local government is only one opportunity. So I just want to share with you where I find grants, because no one has knocked on my door and given me the exhaustive list yet, but you never know, that grant fairy may come in the future. Look, state and federal grants, I've just got the links in for you. Look, they are the most unfriendly, hard to navigate websites that I've ever experienced. I'm sorry if anyone here was the designer of those websites, but I'm just saying they're really difficult, but they exist. Arts Hub is another good one if you are a school, community garden, arts program, education program, kind of community environment stuff. They've got some really fantastic grant opportunities in there, but they've also got jobs. So, you know, if anyone's looking for a job or an internship or a volunteer position, that's a really great link. But ourcommunity.com is probably the master list. So many of you in your organisations may already subscribe to this. Does anyone know if they do? Does anyone subscribe to the Grant Guru grant master
Mm.
list.
Yes, uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's to me, that's the ultimate, because all of the below is in there. So the City of Whitehorse is in there, like every grant opportunity is in there. And it costs about $140 a year as a subscription. So if you want to know where every grant opportunity is and how, you know, the guidelines and the links to all the information, that's the one to subscribe to. So I think if you write more than one grant a year, it's worth the subscription. But if you only write one and you rely on one, then maybe not. But I just want you to know that's where it's listed. And you do need a cup of tea, because when you get the email, it says, "Dear Debbie, your grant newsletter is attached," and you look at it and you go, "Oh my goodness, it's 72 pages long and it's got A to Z, all the grants," and you kind of go, "No, I'm not doing that." But do it. Download it and go from A to Z. Now, the reason I'm suggesting not to filter, don't filter to seniors grants or, you know, community garden grants, because you know what? There may be grants in other pots that you hadn't even considered, you know? So when I was running the Westside Circus, we never had a grant from an arts body, even though we were an arts organisation. We got grants from the Department of Justice because we were working with kids in crime. We got grants from the Department of Families and whatever that was called, FAXIA, because we were doing stuff around intergenerational relationship building, bonding between, you know, children and mums. We're doing all kinds of things. And we even got money from the Department of Sport and Recreation for our costumes, because apparently circus is a sport and you can get uniform funding from them. So we called them uniforms, but they were actually costumes. Now, if we went to an arts organisation and asked for costumes, we probably wouldn't have got it. Do you know what I mean? So it's that thing of trying to just think outside the square, going, you know, just because we're a seniors group, that doesn't mean we can't get a equipment grant. Or, you know, just because we're a seniors group, that doesn't mean we can't get a training grant for our volunteers to learn a new skill. I mean, there are so many ways to think about it, and your entrepreneurial brain needs to be open to that. Any thoughts, any questions? How's the
Cricket.
tennis going, Sue? Is anyone winning?
The cricket?
Yeah, go on.
I don't know. I can hear it.
Fantastic. No, I was thinking tennis because I like watching the
No,
tennis.
no tennis at the moment.
No tennis, just cricket. All right, so this is the last slide for part one preparation. So this is if I was to, you know, go into the sky and be a drone and look down on the grant process, this is it here. And when I understood this, it helped me be more successful because I was kind of focusing on only one area, okay? So the first area is where I would suggest you start is identify which funding body you're going to approach, i.e. City of Whitehorse funding program. Build knowledge and relationships. So what I mean by build knowledge, find out what they fund, turn up to the info night, get all the info, and also build relationships, because did you know that funding bodies are not just money bags? They have networks, they have information, they have offices in there that have expert areas. If you're doing a project that deals with employment, they have officers who deal with employment. They have offices that deal with aging well. They have offices that deal with multiculturalism. They have offices that deal with youth, LGBTQ+ communities, all of the things. They have so much knowledge that we can use in our process, that we can get connections for. They know things. And I also think it's a relationship. So I don't just see it as I'm the receiver, you're the giver of money. I'm going to ask you for it. I come in with a thing of going, I've got something to offer here. We've got an amazing mission. We've got an amazing community that's doing great work, and we are part of building the cultural and social value of your community, of our community. So in fact, you need us, because if you didn't have anyone applying for grants, you couldn't give us a grant. So it's kind of like that. So I see it as an opportunity to build a relationship. And I think that takes a bit of courage, because you know what you've got to do? You've got to ring them up and talk to them. So a lot of people sit back and go, why should I bother talking to them? They should just give us the money. And I'm like, no. It goes both ways. You've got to build it up. Yeah, there's mindsets that need shifting. Yeah. So I ask you to check in with your mindset, because that can be a barrier sometimes. Once you've chatted with them and you have an understanding of what they fund, what they don't fund, where the opportunities are, who's doing similar work, all of that, Your idea, your original idea, you know how you went around earlier and you started telling me about what you need funding for? When you talk to them, your project idea might get better. It might get more meaningful, more aligned to what they want. And basically, I've never rung up and gone away and did the same thing. I've always rung up and gone away and it fleshed it out a bit more. Like it might mean that after the conversation with them, you now have a venue that you didn't have before, or you now have tweaked your idea a bit to be more aligned. So that's an important step. When you know what you want to do, why it's important, where and when and how much it costs, only then can you write the grant. You can't write the grant beforehand because otherwise you don't have any of the answers. And that's this section here, writing the application. Most people start here. They have no idea what they want to do. They haven't researched why it's important. They haven't got a quote yet, so they don't know how much it costs, all of that. So you actually can't write the grant without the what, why, who, where, how much. Then you submit. Now, the time between submitting and finding out could be months. So you're preparing to get ready for the grant because you're hoping it'll come through. You eventually get notified. Back in the day, you used to get an envelope, and if it was a big envelope, it meant that you got the grant because it had the contract and a check inside it. If you got a little envelope, it was just a letter saying sorry to inform you. Now you get an email. You just get an email. So it's either successful or not successful. If it's successful, I always say to people, ring up the funding body and say thank you. Has anyone got a thing with manners? I've got a thing with manners. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's, I don't know, manners. When my kids get money from Nana for Christmas, I always make them ring and say thank you. And I'm going to spend it on this. Like, I don't know. It's a no-brainer to me. But anyway, ring and say thank you if that's not in your thinking. If you're not successful, what can you do? Other than be
Ask
disappointed.
for feedback.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Sue?
Find out why if you can.
Yeah. Really important to get feedback. Because if you don't get feedback, you're making assumptions on why you didn't get it. And why don't you test them? So I would often wait one night. I probably wouldn't ring them up that moment when I'm a bit angry and annoyed because then I might get a bit mean. I wait, sleep a night, ring up, and you know what? Ask for your scores. Remember how you get scored out of 100? Ask for them. Imagine if you found out that you got 30 out of 30 with alignment to council goals. Imagine if you found out that you got 0 out of 25 for your project plan and budget. Isn't that useful? If you don't ask, you'll never know, and they may or may not be able to share anyway, but I always ask. And if they don't give me the scores, I always say, well, was I ranked the top 3? Was I ranked down the bottom? How many applications did you get? And if they say, oh, we got 200, what number was I? If they said that I was, you know, number 70 and they funded 69, I know that I just missed out. But if they funded 69 and I'm number 199 on the thing, it means I totally missed it. Do you know what I mean? That's your job. And can I just say, and maybe, and I believe in this, it may be a bit inappropriate, but I believe in it. If you have a relationship with the funding body, the feedback is better. If you're just applicant number 197, there's kind of no reason to go into that dialogue with you unless you really ask. So I don't know. There's something there about notifying and getting the feedback. And of course, whether you're successful or not and you do an event or you do your project, always invite the funding body to come along because they might not fund you now, but they will next time, or they will the time after that. So I see them as an opportunity. So most people who write grants, because remember, we're all volunteers, we're all really busy, we're all doing this out of hours on a Saturday, get it. If you go straight to the application, you miss out on these other steps that are really important and when I started to do all of these, my grants went from sometimes getting them to 1 in 3. So the odds increased. So anyway, any thoughts, any questions about preparation, what I've said, anything that's resonated with you, any questions, speak now. Are you all okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you learned something new? Anyone?
Just basically following up and the emphasis on the
It makes sense.
Makes
what the
sense,
council's
yeah.
doing with
Dennis, you
us,
went like that,
you know, what it's going to be used in the sort of overall thing. In other words, this project will do this particular thing. Therefore, we need to know why we want that particular project and concentrate on the benefits for people rather than just simply getting some money and spending it.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though secretly in your brain you could be going, we need to get some money to spend, it's how you put it forward. It's kind of going, there's something to offer you. Here's your, you've gone to all the trouble to consult the community. They've told you what they think. You've got a whole council plan. You've got a vision. You've got a health and wellbeing plan with objectives in it. It's a no-brainer that what you're doing delivers on that plan. If you're bringing people together or improving human connection, well-being, I mean, Sue, what dogs do to well-being?
That's right. Well, that's what I did last year. It was all about how it brought the people together. It helped all those people who bought dogs during COVID and who needed to train them because the poor dogs had all been roughed up at home. So I brought them together and helped them with their connection with each other and the dogs as well, which enables council to have well-behaved, obedient dogs out in the community.
Yeah, and also, look, I think if you looked at the health and wellbeing plan and looked at what the role of that organisation is, you would find there'd be more in there as well. I think, we need those kinds of organisations. And also, just think about it from the other perspective. You're creating jobs for people. Like, there's a whole economic benefit too of what we're doing. So we're creating opportunities for people to learn new skills. Like, there's lots of ways in which we're kind of making the world a better place, not just what we think. So part 2, the application. So I went into the City of Whitehorse grant program and I found an application form. Okay, here it is. So again, it's online. It's using Smarty Grants. Has anyone here used Smarty Grants before?
Yep, they're
Yes,
wonderful.
yeah.
Mm.
It's not that bad. I love it. I mean, I don't love hanging out on online forms, especially when the NBN goes down and all those things. But you know what? It's not bad.
No.
So if you need help in going in and setting up an account, there is opportunities again to go to council and they'll help you do that. But it's quite easy to do. And all I'm saying about it is download the form. Don't just go next and see what comes up. Download the form. You don't have to print it out. You can just download it and view it. Like, look at it and go, okay, I'm going to go for the minor grants. All right, what does it need? Oh, okay, there's 10 questions. Okay, I need to get a quote. All right, I better go and get onto that. Oh, gee, I might need a letter of support from my partner. Okay, I better ring up them and get them on the job. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, sitting there and looking at it as something to work on in the next few hours or the next day will help you, rather than press next and go, oh my God, they need that. Oh, I need to go and take a photo. Oh, you want to know what's ahead of you. You want to know what the task is. But generally, I'm happy to say that whether you're writing a grant for an piece of equipment, a $3,000 grant up to $3 million, they all ask the same questions. It's just about how much information they want. What, why, who, when, how much. Really, that's it. So there's always some kind of summary that they want from you, like a grab. Tell us the grab. What is the thing you want to do in a tiny little sentence? They always want to know about your organisation. So that's why I asked earlier today, what do you do? What's the name of your organisation? Because they want that. They also want to know how this project is going to benefit the community. Okay, so it's very hard with associations and membership groups because often we're thinking about just like the Chinese seniors, just how do we support the Chinese seniors only? The question you might be asked is, how does your organisation support the wider community or not? So you kind of have to turn inside out and look out, which is difficult sometimes depending on your organisation. Then they'll ask you, tell us a bit more about your project. So see how they haven't said, what do you want money for? They haven't asked that. They've said, what's your project? They haven't asked about the money yet. Who's going to benefit? Who might you work with? What does success look like? Risk management, I've put that in because these days I've noticed that grants will say, what's your risk management plan? What's your COVID safe plan? So I just want to share what that looks like. So if in case you get asked that, then you'll be asked for a budget, and then they'll say attachment support material. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go through how you might answer each of these. I'm going to refer to the City of Whitehorse Minor Grants Program as our example, up to 3,000. But you might be applying to seniors, equipment, major, minor, whatever. I'm just going to use this as an example. All right, are you ready? Has everyone got a pen and paper? You know, it's so funny, Dennis, because I feel like you are really sitting in the backyard in front of the thing, but you're not, yeah? You're in a real room. I get it. All right. So first thing about your organisation, where would you get this from? You shouldn't have to write a thing. It's a cut and paste. Where would you find this?
Constitution.
Yeah. Constitution, website, brochure, anywhere that talks about your organisation, cut and paste it. So the moral of the story for me, the big tip of the day is don't write it if you don't have to. If you've already got it, get it, put it there. And remember the criteria that said capacity to deliver? That the funding body's looking to see how long you've been around. Do you know your stuff? Can we trust you with the grant? Do you know what I mean? So that's where this comes in. So if you're able to say, you know, we've been a membership organisation for 12 years, we have this many members, we've had many grants, you know, this is our mission, this is what we're trying to do, these are the kinds of programs we run, that will give the funding body confidence. And our job isn't to kind of convince them to give us money, because you already deserve the money. They already know you're great. Your job is to increase confidence and reduce risk. So when I'm reading a grant, I actually don't care about your idea because I think it's good anyway. I'm looking at it going, will they be trusted with this money? Can they do it? Have they done it well in the past? Have they acquitted their last grant? Are they clean, you know? So that's what this is about. But don't write it if you don't have to. Cut and paste. Project start and end date. Now, I put this in because people get this wrong. In the guidelines, it tells you when your project can start. So if you put the grant in February and you find out in August the 1st, when can your project start? Any ideas?
Well, it will be mentioned in the actual guidelines as to when it's going to start.
Yeah, and it'll be August the 2nd, the day after they tell you. So do you know what I mean? So I'm just trying to say that your planning, your grant is a year away. So you can't put in for a grant for this Christmas because you won't even find out about it till next August. So the start date's really important. It's got it in here when you can start your project, but a lot of people put in a wrong date and then it's considered retrospective funding and they won't fund it. And it can almost, depending on how strict they are, it can almost go down in the bad egg, you know, Charlie and Chocolate Factory shoot thing. So you don't want that to happen. So get the dates right. And I guess the other message in this is that there's no such thing as quick fix. Unless it's a quick response grant, you have to be planning for a year ahead, not for the Christmas dinner party, thing. It's got to be August next year and so on, which is annoying, but that's how long it takes. So planning ahead. I'm writing grants for the end of 2022, start of 23. I'm not writing grants for 21 anymore, or for the start of 2022, in fact. Okay. All right, 50-word grab. Sometimes they let you write 100 words, 200 words, or 50 words, but I think 50 words is the one you want. This is where you get to sell your project in 50 words. So I always say to people, try and be interesting. So even if you need a roof for your building, don't write you need a roof for your building because that's what you need the money for. Talk about in the 50-word grab that this is a you know, a minor capital works project that's going to contribute to beautifying and making our space more welcome so that we get more membership and bring the community together. See how that's different to we need a new roof? Same thing though, you do need a new roof, but it's just that thing about trying to be interesting, trying to be catchy. I don't know, I think we want to kind of, you know, invite people in as much as we can, rather than say, give us the money for this. Because remember, this is only the summary. And after this, you get to ask for lots more things. You get to talk about how much, you even have to put quotes in for the roof. You have to do all kinds of things. So this is just the very first time we meet your project. Let's have a look at an example. So I'm going to look at the bottom one here. Okay, I'm going to read it out. Kids Books, in partnership with local libraries, would like to present Our Brave New World, a 12-month community publishing project targeting college children and families living in the city of Whitehorse. The project will use the process of creating and publishing ebooks to create a multi-generational vision for the local community post-COVID-19. So everything is in that, the what, why, who, where, how. Okay, this is my organisation. We're partnering with local libraries. This is the name of our project. The timeline is here, 12 months. The community that we're targeting in the region. So if you're applying for a City of Whitehorse grant, I would say it's for people in the City of Whitehorse. Okay. The project will use this process to create this outcome. So all of the whole. I haven't once said we need money books, because that's really what it is. Okay. I've talked about the community, the kind of issues that we might be facing, and the kind of benefit back to the community. Okay, so really the template's at the top. So I want you to look at this template, and you can use this template. I'm so proud of this template. I made up this template, and I kind of feel like if I was Mark Zuckerberg, I would have patented this template and sold it. Because whenever I read grants and I read this template, I'm like, yes, it's getting out there in the world. I'm so happy. So basically it's you in partnership with someone else would like to present the title, a something project targeting a particular group in a particular region. The project will include these activities to address this problem or need or emerging priority, whatever. So I don't know whether you're a seniors group or whether you're doing a small capital works project, a major capital works project, a community gathering project, a domestic violence focused project, whatever it is you're doing, I feel like that this template could work if you just try. So this is the challenge. Are you ready for a challenge? Now this is when I give out chocolate, okay? I'm going to set my timer for 6 minutes, and on a pen, with pen and paper, I want you to have a think about the next grant you want to write, and using my template, I want you to start filling it in. And if you don't know, it doesn't matter. You can go me in partnership with X because you don't have a partner yet. And when I say partner, I don't mean the funding body. I mean you might need to work with a library, or you might need to work with a school, or you might need to work with someone who has a venue. Your project might be a partnership with a caterer. I don't know, like your partner is someone that you're not just paying, otherwise they're just a supplier. It's someone that's trying to give you something back for free in the project. But you don't need to have a partner. I always have them because I think they're value additions, but you don't have to have one. But yeah, whatever you don't know, just put an X and give it a go. I'm going to set my timer for 6 minutes. You've got nothing to lose. I can't see you, so for all I know, you could be doing your shopping. But it's an invitation to give it a go. Ready? And after 6 minutes, we'll go into breakout rooms. Okay. I'll let you know when there's 1 minute to go. 3 minutes down, 3 minutes to go. Just give it a go. It's a draft. Now you still have another minute, but I'm going to close the PowerPoint for a minute while I create some room. So have a last glimpse and I'll let you know when to stop. Okay. All right, so when you're ready, find a natural ending to your sentence. Or if we're doing NAPLAN, I'd say pens down in 10, 9, 8. All right.
Exam.
All right. How'd you go? Did you write something?
Yep, I got
Yeah.
some idea.
Something came out of you? Was it good to have a template? Yeah? All right. So this is the task, the next task, because this is the most important bit. You've written something down, that's great. It doesn't really matter. You've given it a go. You've thought about it. You've applied. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go into a breakout room with someone and you're going to say hello. And you've only got, I don't know, 5 minutes or something. So you've got 2 minutes each. Person number one reads out what they've got. They don't, I'll do the disclaimer for you now. Oh, I don't really know. We haven't finished it. It's pretty bad. It's just rough. It doesn't matter. Read out loud what you've got. Get feedback and swap over. Rather than try and explain it to them, read what you've got. Because remember, with a grant, you are putting in a writing piece. It's not, unless you're allowed to speak it, it is a writing piece. And I think it's important to read it out because you will hear straight away whether it's working or not as a draft. Are you up for that? Have fun. I'll see you in 5 minutes. Erin, I need you to go in, otherwise it wouldn't work. Is that okay? Beautiful. All right. So I'll let you know when there's a minute to go. Say hello. Goodbye.
Oh, oh. Hi, Jeff. How are you? Nobody seemed to turn up for a second there. Yeah. Do you want to read? Yep.
Oh, hello.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I have an idea, but I haven't really put it down. Let's say what my saying is, we want to educate dementia people. Oh well, the community that what is dementia, what the symptoms are, how we let's say identify them, how we treat them to friends, family members, and to the let's say the volunteers, how we
I know.
can,
Sounds interesting, yeah.
let's say treat them, even giving them some kind of treatment physically or emotionally, and this can benefit the people with early, let's say, sign of dementia. I don't know whether this will be supported by government or not. But the rough idea is to educate the general community who has an older persons in their family who got some dementia which they don't know about. They are ignorant about what is dementia and how to deal with them, and whether it is a right
That's
way
good.
to deal with them. Also,
Sounds interesting, yeah.
in relation
As a
to,
side point, I do some
elder
volunteering work with
with,
Eastern Palliative Care, so I help people go to hospital, and sometimes you can see the effects of dementia there. It's quite obvious, and it's interesting dealing with a whole variety of people and different medical problems. It's interesting.
That they
Project
don't
sounds
know
excellent.
that they actually
Now, mine's
have
probably a little
dementia.
bit simpler.
So
I'll just
that's
read what I did
general
right. Box Hill Community Gardens, in partnership with the Box Hill Community Arts Centre, would like to improve our environmental impact by minimising water usage and wastage. This project, maintaining and making improvements to our water system, would help us, our plot holders, to more effectively manage their water usage and improve the production of vegetables. We're just, you can see back there what we look like. We're a whole pile of garden plots there, which people share, and we just grow things. It's next door to the Art Centre on Station Street. So it's fun, but we need to improve our water system after 30 years. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Not really, no.
All right. You touched quite a lot of
It's basically
aspects, like
benefit is people get to
how long
join a
you've been
community.
doing this, or
They
how
get to garden, which is quite
partnership with,
helpful
and,
to managing stress.
but
They
I
can
don't
share,
really
they can
hear,
get educated by others on
the
how, what
benefit
sorts of
of just
things they can
doing
grow and that sort of
gardens
stuff.
for-
But
have you
mostly it's
mentioned
a
that? I
small
didn't
community
really
just to
grab-
socialise. It seemed to read well, actually. Yeah.
I see.
Who's it? Who would you be working as? The Box Hill
Yes, I see.
Dementia
Perhaps you
group,
covered
or
most of the
would you have?
general description of the
What would
project.
your
I don't
organisation
know
be?
whether I'm mentioning all the factors or the main concepts of my project or not.
Oh, yeah. Good. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. I should say that. Yeah, I should say that we are partnership with the local GP
Back in,
and
that's it.
local, let's say, residential facilities, hospitals, and perhaps local nurses and carers, and beneficiary.
Okay, so quick.
I'm sorry if I rudely interrupted you and
No, that's
threw
all
you
right.
away, pulled you out of the room. Where did
Okay.
you go?
All
Did you
right.
find someone in the room? That's what I want to know.
Yep.
I understand that Wendy didn't have a mic. I hope you found a way to talk to her, Erin.
No, unfortunately. Do you want to try and talk now, Wendy?
I think she's
Yeah, I
told me.
can't hear her. Yeah.
but that's okay. How'd you go? Was that useful?
Good.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the
it's
reason
good.
I say to do that is when we write it down, we kind of go, oh, it's just with me. Oh, I wonder if it sounds okay. Ooh, and we
I
don't show anyone.
I
the
thought Jeff's one was excellent
My
because it was to do with
suggestion is
helping
read it out
dementia
to
patients
someone
and their families.
and then say, what did you hear? Okay.
Or what am I asking for?
Yeah. Or what did you imagine?
Mm.
What did you see? Yeah. Who heard one that was great? Yeah. Fantastic.
Mm.
Oh, I thought mine is just not quite. I'm not quite sure because
Well, isn't that interesting, Jeff? You were worried and you weren't quite sure, and now you're getting feedback that it was really interesting. So I think sometimes, especially if we're not confident in writing or we're not sure if it's expressing it well, test it with some people. Test it and hone it in, get some support in that way. But I wanted you to do that because I wanted you to walk away with a sentence, if anything, from today. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. Let's keep going. We're getting there. We're getting there. 50-word grab. Done. Next, community need. Does anyone have worth in the waiting? Community need or emerging priority? I think it was 10.
25 or something.
Yeah, 10. So this
10.
one's important. So what they're looking for here, okay, they want to know what the problem or challenge is that you've identified and how your project is going to address that. So, you know, if you're talking about dementia and what's happening with people that living with dementia, their families, the community, tell us about that. Okay, tell us about that and back it up with some evidence. You can't just say dementia is difficult for family members because I said so. Yeah? Would you help me, Erin, mute
Yes.
our newcomer if you can? Yeah, thank you. So community need is about identifying the problem and then backing it up with evidence. And I think, and I want to be really honest here because I've got nothing to lose. I'll never see any of you again, maybe. But I want to say it can't just be because we want to bring people together to have a lovely time. Do you know what I mean? Like it's got to be more than that because that is just a byproduct of what we do anyway. They want to address some of the issues that are emerging or in our community. Guess how you can find out what those are? They're listed. Guess where they are?
Council plan.
Council plan, and here they all are. So if you want to look at what the council are seeing as emerging needs and priorities, they've already found them for you, okay? And they've listed them. So I just think anywhere where you can mention the plan and say, you know, our project delivers on objective number 4 in the health and wellbeing plan on page 20, I would write that. Okay, so because you've shown them that you've done the research, you've found the alignment, okay? And unfortunately, you know, we work in an asset kind of strength-based approach where we talk about what's great about our communities. Unfortunately, with grants, they want to know what's not going well, what's not working, and how your project is going to fill a gap. Okay, and if you're looking for statistics in Whitehorse around migration or Chinese population or the kinds of things that you're working in, if you go to a website called Profile ID and you type in Whitehorse, a lot of the demographics will come up around, you know, migration or employment or socio-economic status or anything you might find in there. So I guess to get 10 out of 10, you can't just say, we're going to make people come together and have a great time. It's got to be more than that. Any questions? Did you want to add anything? Am I being completely wrong, Erin? Is that right?
No. The only thing I was going to add is I think that these plans do capture a lot of the priorities in the community. Sorry, someone's trying to call me. You know, but if your specific organisation has identified a community need that isn't necessarily highlighted in these plans, then you can we would expect you to demonstrate what that is And what would do your application a lot of justice is if you can justify that, if you can provide detail or evidence to say, hey, we're seeing this and this is why. It's not necessarily highlighted in the plan, but it's a legitimate emerging priority that we're seeing in our community.
Yeah, that's great. So you can talk anecdotally about what you're seeing, but back it up with some numbers.
Yeah.
Or a quote or a testimonial from someone. It can't just be we're seeing lot. You know what I mean? So I just think, and look, it's only worth 10, and that's not a lot. But in other grants, I've seen community need be worth up to 60 out of 100, depending on the grant. So it's a really important question. So please work through that.
Hello, hi.
Yep. Jeff?
Debbie and Irene. Correct me if I'm wrong. When you explain this profile ID 2040 community vision, blah blah blah. These or are all these on the website of the White City Council?
Yes.
And are they identifying the, let's say, the needs, priority needs for the community? Like, are they with all the let's say keywords? Say, for instance, let's say dementia or elder abuse, or let's say English teaching. Would that be found in these?
Yes, they will, Jeff. So what I would suggest, so the plans are all on the website. That's right, and in the guidelines that will be available in January, I've actually included links. So if you look at the guidelines on the website, there's direct links to these plans. So there's a high level list of priorities and objectives, and then within underneath those, all of the things that you mentioned would align to at least one of those objectives. So it's very broad, and this is what we've heard from our community, from a community consultation. It went through a deliberative process. We had a community panel. So it took about 6 months to sort of liaise with the community in the development of these plans. And if it's not, look, you can always give me a call, Jeff, and talk it through a little bit more, and I can help identify the links if you're having trouble with that.
And you know what I think, Jeff? I think you would look at the plans, and in those plans, whether it's the council, I think the council plan and the health and wellbeing plan, there will be something about aging well, right? Older people. It may not mention the word dementia, and it may not say elder abuse, but it will say aging well. So you've got to find the links on a high level of where your project would fit in, because there will be objectives around aging well. And then a step further, you could ring up the aging well department and say, what are you doing with dementia? What are you doing with elder abuse? And they might have projects that they're working on in the community. They might have extra research that they know about to help you. So, do you know what I mean? Like, whatever you're working in, the council are probably doing similar work.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
All right, good. Thank you.
Same with young people. There's a youth services department, teams working with young people. I would always ring them and say, what are you doing? Because guess what council doesn't want to do? They don't want to duplicate. They don't want to fund something that's already happening down the road 2 meters away. So you've got to be able to show your understanding and go, I know there's 5 Chinese senior groups, but this is how they're different. This is what they're uniquely doing, so that the council go, okay, there's a place for everyone here. They need you to have that awareness. Great. All right. So then you filled in the community need, and now it says, tell us what you want in more detail. And this is really just fleshing it out. You know, are you running training? Are there workshops? Is your project involve pre, during and post activity? Like, what's the breakdown? And really, you're optionally allowed to attach a project plan. The more money you're asking for, the more I would recommend doing that, because the more detail you have, the better, but it's not compulsory. But a lot of grants will say, you know, in 200 words, tell us the plan, and then attach a project plan, and there's lots of different templates that you can use to do that. So this is like not new information, it's your 50-word grab fleshed out. Do you know what I mean? It's like everything that you're doing. So who are you working with? What are the activities? you might say here that, you know, our project might be your project might be a mentoring program for young people, but what you want money for is actually the facilitator. Do you know what I mean? So even though the program is a mentoring program, the money is only for a certain part of it or so. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
So Debbie, was our request for the dog club that the signage of the building, is that we would be saying things like identifying the pavilion to enable members to be able to rotate where we are at, or how would we? I mean, it's only a sign. It's nothing.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. This would be classified as an equipment grant.
Yeah.
Like it's a piece of equipment. So the
Okay.
questioning will be a little different.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
it'll be a bit different and a little bit more kind of straightforward.
Yes.
Yep, fine. That's okay.
The
Yep.
equipment, but my challenge to you is it really just a sign?
Well, it is. But
you
the
know.
interesting thing is, I had some advice earlier this year about because it's a heritage building,
Ah,
I
yeah.
had to get a proper permit. And then when I rang and spoke, and it wasn't Erin, it was Aaron, to somebody, they said, put in for the funding and then get the permit. Well, then we missed out, and council really basically said that we needed the permit to put in for the funding. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm putting in for the permit, and then in January, I'll put in for the funding.
Shame you got that incorrect information, but
Yeah.
you know, now you know. But
That's
look,
all
I
right.
think, you know, the outcomes of that sign are many, aren't they? Because yes, it will help people identify you, it will help people find you, but it'll also create patronage and membership
That's
and all
right.
of the things. So, you know, there's lots of benefits to having a sign.
Yeah.
All right. In the city of Whitehorse, now this isn't the case for every grant program. There's special questions that say, what is the strategic alignment to council? And they ask two things. What are the council directions and what are the grant objectives that your project aligns to? The good news is they list them for you. They list the strategic directions and you've got to tick the box of which ones suit you. Then you have to write a few sentences about how. And same with the community grant objectives, which are in the guidelines. There's objectives. They list them and you tick them. They're very broad, overarching objectives. So you would find at least two that you align with. Then again, a sentence about how your project relates. So yeah, that's all I can say about this. But the good thing is you don't have to go and find the objectives. They've found them for you and they've put them there and you've just got to say which ones match your project. Yeah. Interesting. Project beneficiaries. Who do you think City of Whitehorse want to benefit
Residents
of?
of the city.
community.
Okay. So when it asks you a question, how many residents will your project benefit from 0 to 100%? Which number do you think will get a higher score?
100%.
Now, look, I know that's not always the case because you know, we've got membership from all over Victoria sometimes, but just remember that. It's a no-brainer. Who do they want to benefit? City of Whitehorse. Okay, so just remember that. And I guess the thing to say about it is that, yeah, maybe it's everyone in the City of Whitehorse, but if there's a particular group like older people over 60 or the Chinese community or young people aged 12 to 25, if they've got a particular defined nuance or a feature or a characteristic, put it in there. Talk about that. Because council has sometimes communities of interest or people that are particularly disadvantaged or people that are particularly, they're trying to target, you know. So if your project can match that, it's a great alignment. Partnerships. Now this again isn't compulsory and it depends which grant you're going for. But I reckon if you're applying for more than 5,000, you need to have a partner. Why do you think funding bodies love partnerships. And when I say partner, I don't mean people you're paying, like the signage dude. I mean, who is giving you something for free in your project? Like, why do you think funding bodies love them?
Kind of work together in a win-win situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Partnerships bring value, don't they? Because win-win, they win, you win, the council wins. You're creating impact. If you have a partnership, their people benefit from the investment. It's like a ripple effect. They love that. They love it when you can find someone else that can bring something to your project, like a venue for free or access to a kitchen that you don't have to pay for. Like, all of those things show the funding body that you've done some work, that you've got people who are backing you. And when people back you, the likelihood of your project succeeding is higher. So it goes back to that point of it increases confidence and reduces risk. Again, it depends on the grant. You don't need them all the time, but I always have a partnership and I always have a letter of support attached from them saying that they are a partner and they're providing the venue for free, which is valued at $800. That's what I would say. Any thoughts, any questions? A lot of people say to me, oh, we don't have partners. We don't work with partners. Bet you do. I bet you there's someone in the community or something that has given you a discount or given you something to help you along. That's what I would call a partner. Yeah, and I just put this in case you have to talk about outcomes. It depends. Sometimes I say, what does success look like? So Sue, if you got your sign and it was up there and it was beautiful, what does success mean? What? You get more people through the door? What does it mean?
Well, it means people can find us. If they're not sort of walking around trying to look for us, they can be directed to us straight away.
Yeah, so people can find you, and that probably equates to numbers of people walking through the door. I don't know. So yeah, so sometimes think about what success means to you, because funding bodies often will say, tell us what success is. Is it the number of people? Is it the fact that someone's learned a new skill? Is it the fact that there's more education in the community around elder abuse? It can be high level, it can be quite specific. And in case you're asked, what is your COVID safe plan? I've just got a template here. There's many of them. They're already written. I would suggest if you need to attach one, just download it and copy it. Don't make it up. You don't need to. Someone's done this before. So if you are doing an event or something that is kind of a bit more about people coming together in a space, even if it's online, there are still risks attached to things. So I just want to share with you, there are templates out there that you can use. You don't have to make them up. Okay, so please feel free to use those if you need. Budget, last section. So I say to people, how's your grant going? It's due tomorrow. And they go, it's done, it's finished. I've just got to do the budget. And my heart sinks because guess what? The budget takes time and the budget is usually the last thing people do, and you can always tell when they've rushed it. Can you tell, Erin?
Yeah.
How do you tell? What do you notice?
I noticed that there's a lack of detail. It's really hard for us to see how the funding that is being requested is going to be used within the project. And that causes great concern for us, for the assessment team.
And when they're concerned, what does that increase? Confidence or risk?
Risk.
Yeah. So you've just written a beautiful grant. You've done everything I've said. It's amazing. They're so up there with confidence, and suddenly you present a budget that looks so dodgy, unthought through, run out of time, haven't done all the things it's asked, and then it unfortunately really decreases the volume, the essence of your work. So please give yourself some time. Now I want to show you a budget, and I guess the thing I want to say about grant budgets is they're not like any other budget. So they're not like an organisational budget, they're not like a personal budget, they're not like a cash flow budget. They are unique, and it's really important you understand what they're looking for. So just bear with me, okay? Can you see that?
Mhm.
All right, so I'm just hear me out, okay? And of course, if you go through the guidelines of City of Whitehorse, they've got a budget help tip sheet. And basically this is just copying that. I've just copied theirs, okay? So let me just go through it and then you can unmute and go wild. All right, so there's two parts to a budget. There's income and expenditure. So the money that comes in and the money that goes out. So let me start with income. I'm going to go for a Whitehorse grant, $3,000. So that's not confirmed. That's why I've got NC, not confirmed. But I've also just managed to get a state government grant for the same project and it's confirmed, it came through. So I've got confirmed there. And we've got a local business that's giving the project a donation and they've already given the donation. So it's already successful in confirmed 500. So even though I'm asking for $3,000, I've actually got other cash from somewhere else coming to the project. Now down here, I've got in-kind support. So in-kind support is a monetary value, but it's not cash. So I've got my volunteer time because I'm valuing the time of the volunteers on this project. So I'm saying that they're based on $30 an hour times 15 hours. It's confirmed because we already do the work. It's valued at $450. Partnership with a venue, they've given it to us for free. They're not charging us a fee. So that's a partnership. That's confirmed. But if I was paying, they would charge $1,000. So I'm getting $1,000 of in-kind support. And also a friend is doing some marketing and doing the poster and they're not charging me. And I asked him, how much would you cost if I did pay you? And he said 800. So interesting, even though I'm applying for $3,000, my project is worth 7,250. Some of it's in kind and some of it's cash. Some of it's confirmed, one of it's not confirmed. On the other side, how much can I spend? Anyone say it out loud? I'm circling it now.
I say,
Well, how much can I spend?
7,200.
7,250.
Uh-huh.
So I cannot make a profit or a loss. See, it has to equal out to zero. So what comes in must go out. So of course I have to spend my in-kind because if I don't, if I take these away, see how it doesn't add up anymore? So if volunteers come in, volunteers go out. Remember, it's not real money. It's going in and out. It's token. It's not real. You're not changing an invoice. If volunteers are putting in, they come out the other end. But
It's
here's
labour.
the real, sorry?
the labor.
Yeah, it's labour. So here's the costs. I've got a project coordinator, I've got workshop facilitators, and see how I've given a rationale on how I came up with the figure. I've got some materials, I've got some exhibition costs. I'm also being auspiced by another organisation. Remember I talked about auspicing earlier? If you get auspiced, they might charge you a fee because they want to benefit from it too, an admin fee. So I've got that in. But this other little column here is not compulsory for you to put into the grant, but they may ask you for this, which is out of all of these costs, which ones are we putting in for? What is the City of Whitehorse paying for? Okay, and then I've gone through and I've allocated which ones out of all of these figures they're paying for, which comes to 3,000, which is what I'm asking for. Sometimes they say highlight or tick the ones that we're paying for. Sometimes they say write it in a box. But either way, when I'm building my budgets, I don't work in the form. I work on Excel and I do it like this. So if you are assessing this and you're looking for confidence, high confidence, low risk, would you say that this is a good, sound, strong budget? Yes or no? Yes?
Yes, I think it's a good budget.
Why?
Well, because it's very clear of what you are asking for, and you got backup from other funding as well. Confirms there is a very strong budget.
Yeah.
And you painted the
Right.
whole picture.
Yeah, painting
But
the whole picture.
I have one question. Is admin cost? And normally I thought it would be about 10% of the what you're asking for.
Sure.
But
Look,
if
John, it
you
changes from grant to grant. Sometimes they say you can charge an admin up to 3% of the budget, or 5%, or 10, whatever they say. So, and you find that in the guidelines. It'll give you a guide on what the admin allocation can be. Do you know what it is in this case, Erin?
Sorry.
500
add-
over 3.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's actually a really good point, and something I will take up to management. It doesn't specify an amount. What it does do, it specifies they will consider project costs, like that. So it can't be relevant to the organisation. So staffing, for example, that we're not going to, but if it's a very specific project coordinator cost for a very specific period of time, and if that can clearly be articulated what that is, it will be considered as part of the application. It is a little bit confusing, so
yeah, but I always do between 3 and 5%.
Yeah,
if it doesn't say the percentage, I always do. And can you see how I haven't got any staff? I've got project workers because I won't fund salary.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. What about if I go not confirmed, not confirmed? Does that change the vibe of the thing?
Yes, I think so.
What does it do now?
It's a weaker.
If you were assessing that, would you think, oh, okay, well, the good thing about this is it's still detailed. It's still got a plan, but you've got no buy-in. Even the people that aren't giving you money have still said no. You haven't even asked them yet. Do you know what I mean? So the worst case scenario is that your in-kind is confirmed and the rest is not. That's even better than having all of it not confirmed. Yeah, that's the worst case scenario. What about this? Would you give that money?
No, not enough details.
Why? It still adds up. It's still good. You're still saying 3,000.
But you need more details with other things.
Yeah.
Salary, this is kind of a salary thing, and it's not good.
Well, see, interestingly, most people, maybe 5 out of 10 will do this.
Yep.
Because they think that the funding body only wants to know about their 3,000, and they actually want to know about the whole project. So please know that the way I showed you is the way they want it, not like this.
Okay.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Any other questions?
Now, sometimes you put in your own money, say, to show that you have some commitment to the project.
Yep, own contribution. There you go.
Yep.
Right there, confirmed. And guess what that is? That doesn't mean that you literally go to the bank, take out money and put it back in. That just means that you might have done a sausage sizzle last week, raised $500 and you're putting it towards a project. And I think, like you said, John, I think that demonstrates you're putting in. I mean, we're doing it already. Look at all the labour we already put in, like all the volunteer hours are already in there. So showing cash is kind of going, you're doing the investment as well. Even if it's $20, I still think goes back to manners. When you invite people over for dinner, you ask them to bring something, you provide something as well. It's the same kind of idea. Any other questions about the budget? Is everyone okay? No one's smiling anymore. Are you all right?
I guess I'll use this opportunity to just reiterate to everyone that it is really important that the assessment team can see how you intend to use the money from council, because as the guidelines will stipulate, there are some things that we just can't fund, and if it's not clear to the team where that money is being, what that money is being used for, as Deb said, it poses a bit of a risk, and it may potentially reduce the funding that you received.
And look, it depends on how much time they've got. They might be lovely and ring you up and go, your budget's a bit unclear. Can you please explain it? And that's a great thing. But if they don't, they don't have the time, and equitably they can't ring everyone, so they don't ring you. And then unfortunately you're disadvantaged by that because you didn't
Yeah.
give them the right information. So I give them all the information and then go from there rather than assume they're going to ring me, because in fact they shouldn't ring you if it's fair for everyone. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a thing. And the more competitive it is, they'll just go with the ones that have done it. Even though you're wonderful and amazing and deserve the money, it doesn't mean you'll get it. So our job is to try and kind of do what they're asking, answer the questions clearly, give them all the information and not leave it to the last minute. And yeah, so last slide, everyone. Done the budget. How exciting. So the last thing you might have to do is attach some things. So you might have to attach your project plan. You might have letters of support. You might have quotes for your sign. You might have evidence or testimonial from the community saying that this is important. You might have photographs of the community dancing and you're asking for a grant for a dance project. I don't know. All I want to say is that if your grant is due on Friday at midnight and you try and start uploading your PDF at 11:59, I'm telling you now, it won't go in on time and Erin will not answer the phone to help you. So please, if it's due at Friday night at midnight, when would you submit?
Thursday.
Day before.
Thursday. John gets a chocolate.
Oh,
Yay!
hi. Thank you.
You know what I mean? You just don't want to. All these. You know, grant writing gets such a bad reputation because of things like leaving it to the last minute. It makes you. Has anyone ever been so stressed out the thing dies, the printer won't do it? You know, all the things. We just take that away and just submit it in early. It won't benefit you. They won't look at it any earlier, but it just means you won't have to face all the IT problems or the attaching problems that you might have.
I must admit, Debbie, I always put in all those official documents first
Ah, good work.
on a Smarty grant. I put them in, and then I know they're there,
Great.
and then I can go away and think about the wordy bits. That need
Yeah, that's a great tip, Sue,
Mm.
because think about it. If you
Yeah.
need to find your certificate of incurrency and the secretary's in Bali and you can't get access to the thing, that's really stressful on Friday night. So, yeah, if you can get all of that stuff and have them in a file, that's what I talk about readiness. I have a file that's got legal docs. I have a file that's got letters of support so that when I need them, I drag them in, not try and create them in the moment. You know what I mean? It just helps. I want the process to be about you getting the best foot forward rather than scrambling around looking for documents that you're not even in control of. So
One possibility is the difference between what we want and what we're going
You
to
have been
give
the most lovely
in terms of
group
how it
I've
will
ever
help
had.
the
You've been
community.
nodding and smiling. But I'm interested to know of one. I want to go around the room if you could share one takeaway from today. Something that you're going to
Sue's
take away. It could
there.
be a new skill, or it could be an idea, it could be an expression, a thought, anything. Who'd like to start? Yeah. Good work. Thanks, Dennis. Can you zap to someone else in the room? Can you see anyone else? Sue, you're next.
I just one word: clarity. That's
Mm.
what I thought out of today.
Yeah, fantastic. Can you zap to someone else that you can see on the screen?
Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah, do you still want the job?
Yeah, I think it's clarified things greatly for me and it will help a lot.
Mm.
One thing, one of the many things I took away was building relationships and
Mm.
funders.
Yeah, what I learned today is that you should be more. I should be more talking about the benefit to the council, to the benefit to the people, not the benefit to the organization. So you are selling the benefit, So you don't ask for money, you sell it. So that's a good good takeaway.
Fantastic. And I often say to groups who find it difficult talking about that, but can easily talk about the benefit of their membership, I always say, get your jumper, wear it inside out so the tag is showing, and think about it like that. Think about it like if you had to turn it inside out, how is what you're doing benefiting the wider community? Because those people that are there are part of the community. You know what I mean? They are, you know, if people come to a club and they're part of something, they are better at home, they're better carers, they're better parents, you know, all that stuff, all the stuff that makes us better. So there is benefit outside of what you're doing, I think. And
Yes.
council want to hear about that.
Yes.
All right, Ruby, what about you in your field of green behind you, which is so nice?
I think it's useful for apply grants. So, because I'm new to do this work and I don't know how to do this before, and now I know a lot of. And if I have some question in the future, may I ask you by email?
Yes.
Erin's the woman.
Yes, definitely. And my contact details are on the website and in the guidelines. And Ruby, also one thing we are very keen to do, it'll be myself and some other people, will also block out days during the application period where people with enough notice can book in an appointment. If you're really struggling with understanding the form, we want to make sure that it's done and everyone has a fair chance of being able to complete it. We're not going to write it for you, but we will sit and discuss and keep explaining what we're trying, with the questions that we're asking, what we want to hear from you and help you that way.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
And yes, Wendy, we will be sending around the notes. If you want to put in the chat one of the takeaways for you, that would be fantastic. But I'm going to hand it to Jeff.
Well, it's the links that Debbie showed and Erin confirmed that the major, let's say, data and analysis and definitions and the keywords, perhaps, so I can really find that onto the City of White House website. That is the most, I think, a good thing for me to know today. So, and yes, also, I'm not quite sure. Perhaps I missed the first part of it. I don't quite really know Debbie's role here in the City Council. Are you independent consultant or?
I'm an independent consultant, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I heard
Erin
that.
has captured me in for a couple of hours.
Do you give, let's say consultations and advices when, let's say, we are applying for grants from local government?
Yeah, look, I don't usually give it to small organisations as a one-off because it never works. I kind of work with organisations for a long period of time because it's about understanding long-term goals, long-term fundraising needs, and working with an organisation over a long bit of time. But yes, I do consultancy, and in the PowerPoint you can see my details at the bottom if you want to email me. Yeah, and we can talk offline.
All right.
But Erin, thank you so much for making this happen at this time of year. Ho, ho, ho. We're doing another one, aren't we? When is it?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that question. It's during the application period. Let me look it up very quickly.
I think it's February.
It is February, and it's in the 20th. I think it's the 24th, if that's a Thursday. But what I will do is, I think
it is the 24th.
Yeah.
So if you've got a friend who you think would benefit, send them along.
Yeah. Yep, by all means, send them along. Anyone who has applied for a grant with council before and has selected to be notified of updates will receive a little reminder of that session. It'll also be spoken about in information sessions that will be coming up. and and then also a newsletter that goes out from my team, the community development team. So
Yeah.
there'll be lots of opportunities,
And
plenty of warning.
Yeah, and you're more than welcome to come again, although I'll say the same information, but I might have new jokes, so who knows? I don't know.
So, Erin,
Um,
with the funding applications and when it all opens, will you be sending out that information?
Yes, I will. I'll probably I'm going to try and have all of the forms updated and the new guidelines available on the website very early in January, and then I will send out notification so that everyone is looking at the correct and most up-to-date detail.
Lovely.
And when I email everyone
Thank you.
the copy of the slides, I will also include a link to those reports that
yes.
we've been referring to, because sometimes it can be, we say it's on the website, but they're not always staring you in the face. So I will send you a direct link to each of those pages where you'll get all the information you need.
Good work. And you know what? It's 1 o'clock. We so finished on time.
We did
I
it.
love it that we haven't
Yeah,
gone over
thank you.
time. It's really great. So thank you, and have a beautiful day, everyone. Have a safe and happy holiday season. And thanks for being such an open and generous group. So good luck with your applications.
Thank you.
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erin.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bell's gone. You can go.